Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. Today I'm here to break down the NBA slate on Saturday, August 8th. We have a nice little 5-game slate starting at 1 o'clock p.m. It's all spread out today, so that's always fun. We're probably not going to get some injury news until way after lock, which that's always fun too. So be ready to be on your toes today. Be looking out for injury news. Be looking out on Twitter for everything that you need to know. If you want to give me a follow, I will always repost stuff that's important, retweet stuff that's important. So if you want to give me a follow over there, my Twitter's at DFSNateLane, and my Instagram's also NateLane_. If you want to go over there and follow that as well, I'll put those links in the description below. If you're new here, or if you're not, make sure to leave a like on the video. If you're new, subscribe to the channel. Leave a comment. Tell me how this video went. Tell me what you liked, what you didn't like, what plays that you like more today than what plays did I not talk about that you might like. Make sure to turn on notification bell as well so you're notified every single time I got a video coming out. If you're into NBA and NASCAR, I'll have a NASCAR video coming out soon as well for the Cup Series race today at Michigan. I've already got the Xfinity Series race out if you're watching this before 12 o'clock p.m. So make sure to check that out as well. If you want to subscribe to more of my content, you can subscribe to my Patreon. I'll put the link in the description below. You're going to get, for NBA, for only $10 a month, you're going to get a cheat sheet and projections for DraftKings, FanDuel, Super Draft, Fantasy Draft, and Yahoo Daily Fantasy Sports, along with an article every single day, salary tier rankings, and my Cash Core 4. So if you're into all that, I'll put the link in the description below. It's only $10 a month for a bunch of information. I also do the same thing for NASCAR, all 3 series. You're going to have all 3 series combined for $10 a month. The same thing pretty much I just said for NBA. So yeah, if you're into that, make sure to subscribe below. But I think that's all I got to say, and let's get into today's video. All right, so we're going to start with the injuries as we always do. Very, very important part, probably honestly the most important part of every NBA slate. Montrezl Harrell is out for the LA Clippers, and that is going to affect Ivica Zubac. He's going to get more minutes at center. Lou Williams has a little bit more usage off the bench, as well as JaMychal Green. Patrick Beverley's questionable, but I don't think he's going to play. Doc Rivers said he could miss a couple games the other day, so I really doubt he's going to play today. In all honesty, he's more doubtful, in my opinion, than questionable. But, he might play. But if he misses, Paul George gets a huge bump in assist percentage. Reggie Jackson will get more minutes as well with Landry Shamet. This is, I think, the most important injury on the day. In all honesty, is Hassan Whiteside is doubtful for Portland Trailblazers, and Caleb Swanigan is also out. And that's usually not someone I ever put on there, but I think it's important because Hassan Whiteside being out, there's no backup center now for Portland at all, with Caleb Swanigan also out. Like, their backups that come off the bench are like Wenyen Gabriel, who never plays. Mario Hezonja, who's not a center at all. He's more of a small forward, if anything. He plays some power forward, but he's more of a small forward. And Jalen Horde, who never plays, and maybe Nasir Little, but he can't play center, and I don't think they want to give him meaningful minutes against the LA Clippers, so I'm expecting a ton more minutes for both Jusuf Nurkic and Zach Collins today. We'll get into those guys later. One of them is like my favorite play on the entire slate today. But yeah, I think those guys being out is just going to be able to give those guys a bunch more minutes. I honestly wouldn't be surprised maybe to see Zach Collins come off the bench today just so they have a backup center. That would not shock me at all today to see maybe Gary Trent get to start instead. But I think it's going to be very interesting to see what happens with that team. I think that frees up a bunch of minutes for those guys with Hassan Whiteside being out. Bojan Bogdanovic continues to be out for the Utah Jazz. Donovan Mitchell gets a little more usage with him off the floor, and Joe Ingles will get the start. Jamal Murray continues to be questionable for Denver. I think today may actually be the day he ends up playing, but for now he's still questionable. If he's off the court, Nikola Jokic and Paul Millsap get a nice usage bump, and Monty Morris gets the start. Will Barton being out, Michael Porter Jr. gets to start in his plays, and Monty Morris, usually Will Barton would be the backup point guard for Jamal Murray being out. When he starts, but he handles the ball a ton, but with him being out, Monty Morris also allows him to start, or it also allows Monty Morris to start. Gary Harris is out, Torrey Craig starts in his place. LeBron James is questionable today. I expect him to play, but if he misses, Anthony Davis gets a big usage bump, and Kyle Kuzma probably gets to start. Alex Caruso is questionable. That frees up some backup point guard minutes for Quinn Cook. TJ Warren and Miles Turner are questionable, and if those two are out for Indiana, man, that front court's a mess, man. They won't have their 3 starters in the front court if both those guys miss. But Warren being out frees up gives some usage up to Victor Oladipo. Justin Holiday probably starts in his place, and Malcolm Brogdon also gets some usage. And Miles Turner, if is questionable as well, if he misses, I don't even know what's going to happen. Who's going to start center? I'd say it probably ends up being Goga Bitadze, or however you say his name. But maybe Jakar Sampson gets a start and TJ Leaf. They'll all probably see some minutes today. And then Malcolm Brogdon also gets a nice usage bump with Turner off the floor, as well as Oladipo. Did not write that down, but Oladipo does too. So if both those guys miss, I mean, just fire up Brogdon and Oladipo all day. I mean, they're just going to be out there a ton. And then I think whoever starts for him is going to be an absolute value. I mean, all three of those guys. Jakar Sampson might not be at the minimum, but the other two are, and Sampson's very close if he's not. But they're all very, very cheap guys. Whoever starts is going to get a ton of minutes. Kelly Oubre continues to be out for Phoenix Suns. That frees up some usage for Devin Booker, and Cam Johnson starts in his place, plays a ton of minutes. Aaron Baines continues to be out for Phoenix as well. Frank Kaminsky gets all the back, well, not all of them. He gets some backup center minutes and just gives DeAndre more minutes. The Miami Heat are kind of a mess today. Jimmy Butler continues to be out, so that Kelly Olynyk I expect to start in his place. That does free up some usage for Goran Dragic, and Andre Iguodala has been seeing a bunch more minutes with Jimmy Butler off the floor. Kendrick Nunn is also out now too, so I expect Goran Dragic, if he plays, to start in his place, and Tyler Hero to get a ton of minutes off the bench just like last game. And Goran Dragic is also questionable himself, so if Dragic and Nunn miss, I honestly, Bam Adebayo might be their third string point guard. I mean, he rings the ball up a ton, so he might be the guy who's running the point, but I'll expect Hero to start in his place. Maybe Iguodala. I bet both of them get more minutes from Goran Dragic being off the floor. Dorian Finney-Smith is questionable. He'll probably play, but if he doesn't, Maxi Kleber probably gets a start at the 5 and moves Porzingis to the 4, and then Tim Hardaway Jr. also gets some more usage, and then Steph Curry is questionable as well. If he misses, Trey Burke or Daylon Wright will see a ton of minutes. I can never get with Rick Carlisle's rotations. I have no clue what's going to happen there, but it seems like one day one of them gets 30 minutes, the next day it's a different one, so that's always a crapshoot. But I think that's all I got for the injuries today. There's some important news we're waiting on. The Goran Dragic, Miles Turner, TJ Warren news is huge today. So we're going to have to wait and see on that one. And unfortunately, those are later games, so it's going to be after lock. But, I mean, we just got to stay on our toes today, stay on our feet, and be ready because there's going to be some pivots that maybe we need to make happen that are going to maybe win us a GBP today. So, all right, so I'm going to start with Luka Doncic. So I'm just always, every video I make, I'm pretty much just going to say I'm interested in him. I mean, he's just been insane since the NBA restart. I mean, he's got a tough matchup against Milwaukee today. He is 11,100, which does scare me, but I mean, he just does everything for this team. A 36.8% usage rate and a 45% assist rate is just absolutely ridiculous. The matchups aren't good. He's got a negative matchup against both point and combo guards, so that's a tough one. But Patrick Beverley is out today, so that would describe someone. Or I'm sorry, he played the Clippers the other day. Jeez. Milwaukee, I mean, he's probably going to get Wesley Matthews for the most part, or Chris Middleton. One of those two are two really tough defenders. It is a nice pace-up spot for Dallas, though. I mean, Milwaukee has been the fastest-paced team in the bubble so far, so I do like that for him. I think that is probably the main reason I do like Luka is because it's a pace-up spot, and I don't expect him to be too highly owned today because he is the most expensive player, and he does draw Milwaukee. So if we can get Luka at low ownership, that's someone I want to attack a little bit. Kristaps Porzingis, who we saw go off the other game, and this is what the Mavericks are basically going to do for the rest of the season. If Luka gets shut down, Porzingis is going off, and we saw that happen. And the LA Clippers game the other day, I mean, it was a good matchup for him against bigs, against the Clippers, but I can totally see Porzingis doing this again. He's still only 8,400. I mean, Milwaukee is, a good defensive team, but but it is a pace-up spot, and I do like the fact that if they shut down Luka again, Porzingis is going to grab a ton of usage, and at 8,400, if he's going to get in the 30s into usage, I think that's someone I want to attack today. So I think Porzingis is someone that is pretty interesting at his price, and I don't expect him to be too highly owned because of that Milwaukee matchup, and I think a lot of people expect Giannis to be on him, which is probably true, but I don't know if he'll be on him the whole game. He might get some Brook Lopez, who is also elite defender. I mean, the thing is, this whole team is elite defensively. I mean, the whole starting lineup defensively is just absolutely insane, but I think Porzingis is sneaky in a pace-up spot where if he gets hot and he starts having a ball in his hands a lot, he could end up really paying off. Jeremy Grant at 4,700. He's still a little too cheap for me, but he does draw a tough matchup against Utah today, but I think it's okay. I mean, it's going to be a negative matchup. I don't like the fact that he's got to go up against Utah, and we've seen the bigs, the cheaper bigs recently, like Brandon Carr, kind of suck against the Jazz, but I mean, he's going to play at least 30 minutes. Right now I think I'm projected for like 34, so I mean, Jeremy Grant's been seeing the minutes, and at that price, it's worth it in my opinion. I think he's worth a shot. I don't want to call him a lock or anything, but he is a decent value on this slate that lacks value today. As of right now, lacks value. Value could open up. There's a ton of value with the potential of opening up later, but right now it lacks value. Paul Millsap, 5,300. I mean, I pretty much put him in every day because he just has a nice usage rate without Murray off the court. He gets about 6% bump in usage to 26.6. It's a tough matchup for him as well as against his old team. But I like the price. I like the minutes he's probably going to play. He did sit out for rest the other day. I didn't put him on the injuries because I just assumed that he just rested one game and he'll be back today. But if he sits out again, then Jeremy Grant's probably really going to play again anyway. But Millsap at 5,300 is interesting. He's a good cash play as always. I don't know. I don't like the upside he always has in GPPs. He doesn't really hit that too often. But he is someone I am definitely got my eye on. Michael Porter Jr. is 7,200. This may finally be the day that Michael Porter Jr. doesn't see a ton of ownership. I mean, he's finally priced up to 7,200, and they play the Utah Jazz. But I'm still interested in him because he's just shown that upside so much recently. And if he's going to be lower owned than normal today, that might be someone to look to go after. Like we just haven't been able to have that leverage. I mean, yeah, he's broken the slate the last three, but I still think he's worth a shot here. Maybe not throwing a ton of ownership on him today. He's not a cash play. Maybe not if you're making like a single entry. But if you're making a ton of lines, I think Michael Porter's worth a shot. He's just been absolutely lights out as of late. He does have a negative matchup, a negative pace spot, but I think he's okay. I think the upside's there for him. And if he's going to be lower owned for someone that's had that much upside and has been playing so good recently, I think I'm somewhat interested in him. Now, if Jamal Murray does end up playing, I don't think I'm really interested in either Millsap or Porter anymore, and I think Jamal Murray becomes a somewhat interest if he's not playing limited minutes, although I do assume he would be playing limited minutes, but if he isn't, I think Jamal Murray is an interesting play there, but I would not be interested in Porter or Millsap anymore. Malcolm Brogdon I have as a yes right now, but that's only if Miles Turner and TJ Warren miss. If those guys play, I'm not interested in Brogdon at all, to be honest. Just not someone I want to go to. But if those two miss, the usage that Malcolm Brogdon is going to pick up from both of them being off the floor is absolutely ridiculous. And I should have put Victor Oladipo on here too. I don't know why I didn't, but he's in the same boat. If those guys miss, I love Brogdon and Oladipo today. They're just going to pick up so much usage. They're going to beat a whole team, and they're got to face a tough Lakers team where they're going to have to do a lot. So I like both those two a good bit. LA Clippers play Portland today, and this is probably the best game of the day. It is the opening game. Yeah, it's the first game of the day at 1 o'clock, so I'll be sitting down at 1 o'clock and watching this game. So, Paul George, I love 8,000, still in my opinion too cheap for Paul George caliber type of player, and I've been waiting for the explosion for him, and I still haven't got it. He's got one positive matchup, one negative matchup against their defense. It is going to be a pace-up spot for them. Actually, it's not a pace-up spot. That's actually kind of surprising. But the Vegas lines are going to reflect that. It's going to be a nice game for them. Not the best defense in the world for Portland. Who's guarding Paul George and Kawhi Leonard today? Like, what, Gary Trent and Carmelo Anthony? Like, come on. They're not locking him up. Or Kawhi. Both these guys are great. Without Pat Bev and Harrell on the floor, they're playing upper 30 minutes. I have them both projected for upper 30 minutes today. This is a game that I think that they might actually try in. Like, I know Portland is, we'll get to them, is my favorite team to attack right now, just in the bubble as a whole, but, or to play. And Paul George and Kawhi Leonard, they just offer the upside at those price tags and against a not really great defense, a good matchup, a fast-paced team. I like both of them a good bit. Marcus Morris at 4,500 offers us some value because he's been recently playing up in the 30s of minutes now. We didn't see that at the beginning of the bubble, but he's been getting about 30 to 35 minutes a game in the past few games. So, especially if Harrell off the floor, I think they're just playing him more because he's their best other big. I don't know why at the beginning they were like, oh, we're going to play a bunch of JaMychal Green and Patrick Patterson. No, play Marcus Morris. He's the better player, by far. But Marcus Morris is seeing the minutes now at 4,500. I think he offers some decent value. I don't know how much of a ceiling he has and if he can really, win you a GPP or anything today, but I think he is, again, there's a little bit of a lack of value on this slate as of now, and I think he offers us some value. Kyle Kuzma I have as a yes right now, but that's also only if LeBron James misses. I'm not really interested in Kyle Kuzma if LeBron James plays. It's a tough matchup against Indiana. They're a really good defense, really slow-paced team. It's going to slow him down a ton. But if LeBron's out, we're having a $5,400 player who's going to play 30-plus minutes, and he's going to get a good bit of usage. He'll be the second-highest usage player behind Anthony Davis. The one thing about the Lakers I've noticed is it just doesn't seem like they care that much, but Kyle Kuzma does. He's trying to get some more minutes. He's trying to show out, trying to just, I think, get back into shape, to be honest, and I think Kyle Kuzma is, someone to attack when playing as the Lakers. But, Anthony Davis, he's going to get a ton of usage without LeBron on the floor, but, just watching the Rockets game the other night, it just didn't even seem like he cared, and I just don't, I don't see why. If they didn't care against the Rockets, there's no way they're going to care against Indiana Pacers. They've got the 1 seed locked up. This is an irrelevant Eastern Conference game, so I honestly wouldn't be surprised if Bron sits again today because, the game is irrelevant. So I just don't want to really attack either of those guys. Honestly, unless the value opens up on Indiana, I'm, more looking at this game as just a fade as a whole. It's just not an appealing game to me. It's going to be a low-scoring game, defensive game. One team doesn't even care. If the usage opens up for the other guys, that's a different story on Indiana. But for now, if everyone plays, I don't know. It just doesn't appeal to me at all. Up next, we got the Miami Heat guys I'm interested in. Bam Adebayo, I mean, I really like it, 7,400 for so many reasons. He's going to play a lot of minutes today without Jimmy Butler and Kendrick Nunn on the floor. And if Goran Dragic misses too, I mean, just such a big usage bump for Bam Adebayo. The assist rate bump is which actually stands out. He has a 6% assist rate bump without Kendrick Nunn and Jimmy Butler on the floor. And that even goes up more without Goran Dragic as well. So I do like Bam. He's got a positive matchup against centers. We all know that Phoenix is not a good defensive team against centers. DeAndre Ayton is really not a good defensive player. So yeah, I think Bam Adebayo looks really good. He's got a nice little pace-up spot against Phoenix as well. That looks good. So if he's just going to be out there a ton, I mean, like I said in the injuries, like Nunn is a starting point guard. Dragic is the backup point guard. Bam Adebayo might be the third-string point guard. I think Jimmy Butler probably is a third-string point guard, but he's out too. So Bam Adebayo might be the fourth-string point guard. Because who else is handling the ball this game? Tyler Hero is not a point guard. They don't want him handling the ball the whole game. Maybe Andre Iguodala, but Bam Adebayo is running the offense so much throughout. If you watch Miami games, he runs the offense a lot, so he might just have the ball in his hands so much more today, and it just makes me absolutely love him, especially facing a matchup against DeAndre Ayton today and Phoenix. I mean, Bam Adebayo might actually be my favorite play as of right now on the slate. Well, he's one of them. I think we'll get into someone on Portland that I like even more, but for now, Bam Adebayo is one of my favorite plays on the entire slate today. I think he's just I think he's just going to have the ball so much in his hands. I mean, just looking at it from a basketball standpoint, and he's going to be out there for 30-plus minutes. Phoenix has been a tough – Phoenix is undefeated, so it's actually going to be a pretty tough matchup for them. Should be a close, competitive game. So I think Bam Adebayo is interesting. If Goran Dragic plays, I really, really like him at 5,100 because if Goran Dragic plays, it makes me like Bam a little bit less, but I still like Bam a good bit. Goran Dragic, if he plays, I like a lot. He's only 5,100, and he's just going to have the ball in his hands so much against Phoenix, who, again, fast-paced team, bad defensively, but really bad against the point guard position. If you look over here, they're allowing 4 more points per game to point guards than the average. So I do like Goran Dragic a good bit. I think he offers us a good bit of upside at 5,100 and a good bit of value. But if Dragic misses, I like Tyler Hero because he's just going to be out there. He's just going to be out there a ton, and it's a good matchup for him. But I don't want to play Tyler Hero if Dragic is playing. He just got priced up to 5,100, which is a lot. I mean, he's going to be out there for the minutes, and it's someone who's benefiting from the injuries, but he's just too expensive. I don't want to pay for him if Dragic plays. But if Dragic misses, I do like Tyler Hero a lot. So this is why this news today is so important, because there's so many pivots that I'm going to want to make today. Kelly Olynyk at 4,900, I think is still fine. I mean, I don't like playing Kelly Olynyk because it's Kelly Olynyk, but I mean, he's going to play in the upper 30s of minutes now, especially with all the guys out that I've mentioned. He even gets a little bit of a usage bump without those guys on the floor. Not a lot, 0.5, but it's still a usage bump. He's got a good matchup against both forwards and bigs. And he just projects out as good value again. I just think Olynyk's fine. He's a nice value that we're going to need on the slate. I like Olynyk more than I like Jeremy Grant and Marcus Morris, but I think Olynyk will be more owned, so those guys are decent pivots off of Kelly Olynyk. But I think Olynyk is still a solid play. Giannis at 10,800. This is the favorite. Most I've liked Giannis since the restart, I think. Well, no, I loved him against Houston, actually, so I'll take that back. But outside of that game, I love Giannis here. Dallas has just been horrendous on defense since the NBA restart. They've been getting absolute numbers been put up on them. I mean, they've been winning games, but I mean, people are just putting up numbers on him, and I just suspect the same here. Again, this is gonna be a competitive game. He's gonna play a lot of minutes. I think he might be my favorite stud on the slate. That's 3 more points on average to forwards in the field. So I do like Giannis a good bit today. Hopefully they don't sit their guys, and we don't know. This is the last game of the night, which scares me a little bit. I'm a little bit scared that that's going to be something that happens, is all these guys just end up sitting. Or not just sitting, but maybe just not trying as hard, or 2, playing limited more minutes, maybe only the first half, and then we're going to get screwed. That would kind of suck. Which I'll get into after I'm done with the player-by-player of a strategy for today's slate, which might be a little different than I thought it would be coming in, but we'll get into that. Chris Middleton, 7,700. He plays a ton of minutes. He's got upside. He's been really good since the restart came back. Good usage player. Looks like he has decent matchups on both the wing and forward positions, so I do like Chris Middleton. DeAndre Ayton, at center at 7,600. It's the same thing as against Indiana. He's just too cheap, and Bam's undersized. Bam is a good rebounder, like Miles Turner he went up against last time against Indiana, but he's just too cheap. Still, 7,600 for DeAndre Ayton's too cheap. He's going to play about 35 minutes, maybe more. especially because Aaron Baines is out, so he's just going to be out there a ton. The matchup isn't going to look fantastic or anything. I mean, I'm pretty sure it's negative matchups against bigs, yeah, but not by a lot, like 0.5 points negative matchup. That's like not that bad. So I think DeAndre could be in for another good game. He's just still too cheap. Devin Booker, I really like 8,300 because there's no Jimmy Butler. Like, who's guarding Devin Booker today? Like, you don't have Kendrick Nunn, you don't have Jimmy Butler, and you may not have Goran Dragic. Like, what, are they going to put Tyler Hero on Devin Booker all day? Maybe Andre Iguodala, but I don't think Andre Iguodala at his age is in a non-playoff game is running around guarding Andre Iguodala all game long. So who's guarding Devin Booker? Like, he's just going to absolutely cook this team. Like, I just don't like the pace. It's not a great pace-up spot. It's not a great normal defensive matchup, but the guy who'd usually be guarding him, who's one of the best defenders in the NBA, is not there. So I think Devin Booker ends up being a very, very solid play here. I think he's going to go under-owned because he's not going to project out well in most projection systems. Because it's just a matchup. But I think the Jimmy Butler thing not being there is going to help him out so much. I put Cameron Payne on here because he's just some nice cheap value. He'll play like 20 minutes at 3,600. He's been running pretty well. I'm not playing Cameron Payne. I think today's the day you need to go down that cheap, but I know some people love to play the super cheap players and think Cam Payne's an interesting one. Although I will say, like, he's fine right now, but later on, if the Indiana value opens up, those are the guys to go to down there. It's not Cam Payne. Carmelo here. Here we go. Favorite team to target all this whole bubble has just been Portland. I've love the way they're playing. They all played like ridiculous amount of minutes, and now Hassan Whiteside's out. So I think all these guys are going to get more minutes. Carmelo Anthony, I'm interested in at 5,500. He's just 5,500, and he's 37. I've been projected for like 37 minutes right now. I mean, that's pretty much it. This isn't a good matchup for Portland at all. It's going to be a pace down. Actually, it's a little bit of a pace up spot, but it's a really, really elite defense, as we know, against LA Clippers. But Portland, I mean, they're the hungriest team in the league right now. I mean, as you can see, they're trying their absolute hardest to win all these games they can, and they're doing a fantastic job at it, and they're winning. And I mean, we're just seeing them absolutely take over, and I don't really care what kind of defense we're playing. I mean, we saw Damien Lord put up 80 DraftKings points against Denver the other night, and they're just one of the better defenses in the league. So I don't have a problem playing anybody in Portland pretty much on any matchup at this point. Damien Lord at 10,000. The only thing, Damien Lord's expensive. I'm a little worried about that price tag. It's expensive, but if he keeps playing in the 40s per game, I mean, he's been playing 40 per game the last few. I have him for 41 right now, and I mean, it's hard to get off of someone that's going to play that many minutes. It's a tough matchup, but there is no Pat Bev, which helps. That would probably be the guy who's guarding Dame the whole game. I mean, maybe they put Paul George on him. Maybe they put, or I don't know if Paul George really wants to guard Damian Lillard anymore after last year, but or they put Kawhi on him, but I doubt they put Kawhi on Lillard for this kind of game. I mean, if it's in the playoffs, they probably would, but I don't think they will for this. So I still like Lillard. I think he has the upside, as we've seen. That's always my thing with Damian Lillard, is he has upside to just go nuclear on you, and he's someone I want to target. Same thing with McCollum. He's only 7,800. He's also going to be playing in the 40s. If he's someone you don't want to play, if you want to play instead of Lillard, I'm fine with that. And for whatever reason, Portland continues to get low ownership on like every single slate. Because they play like tough matchups and stuff, and people just don't want to play them. But they're playing the most minutes in the NBA right now, and like the main players on their team. And I mean, they need to win. They need to do good. It's not like some of the other teams, like the Lakers or the Clippers or Milwaukee, where like if they have a bad game, oh well, they're fine. Like the Portland Trailblazers need to win it every single game they can. So this is a game where they're all trying their absolute hardest. Yusuf Nurkic is my favorite player on the slate, as I've said, 8,900. But Hassan Whiteside being out, like, there's just no backup center minutes, and as long as Nurkic doesn't get into foul trouble, he's going to be an absolute smash spot today. Like, who's guarding? Like, if Vika Zubac is not controlling Yusuf Nurkic today, Marcus Morris, JaMychal Green, Patrick Patterson, none of them are controlling Nurkic today, and we know that Portland, like, sometimes I worry when teams play the Clippers that they're gonna go small against Portland or against them, but Portland isn't gonna do that. We saw Yusuf Nurkic play a ton against Houston, so I don't think that matters. I have him for 38 minutes right now, which may be a little high. He may only get like 34, 35, but he's still going to project out so well. And like the one weakness the Clippers have is against centers. Like I just mentioned, Vika Zubac, it's 2 more points than average to centers on the year. So I think Nurkic is just absolute, like seems absolutely like almost a lock in my opinion if I'm playing cash games for sure, and someone I want to go to as much in GPPs as well, especially if he's not going to get a ton of ownership. And he didn't last slate 8,900. He might continue to not get a ton of ownership. It's not like it's against the Clippers. It's not against like Washington or something. And then Gary Trent Jr., who's just been balling out. I mean, 4,800. He's been averaging 20 points per game on 63% three-point shooting, which is due for regression for sure. Like I'm not going to say that he's going to be able to shoot 63%, but the volume's there, the minutes are there. And I mean, that's just what I'm looking for. I mean, we're looking for some at least decently cheap value. I think Gary Trent's someone you can go to. he looks like a solid value to me. And then finally to Utah Jazz, got some interest in Mike Conley's 5,900. He's just way too cheap in my opinion. He's been playing a ton of minutes and been playing pretty solid. Had a very good game against Memphis the other day. I could see that continuing. And same thing for Rudy Gobert, also really too cheap. He does draw a tough matchup against Nikola Jokic today, which worries me a little bit. These aren't guys I want to target too much, but I mean they're guys that like are probably gonna be lower owned that have upside in my opinion at their salary. So those are the guys I like on Utah. Now I think today's a day where this is not going to be like there's a bunch of stars on the slate. Like we have Luka, we have Kawhi Leonard, we have Giannis, we have LeBron and AD, but and we have Lillard now at 10,000. But like I don't think this is a day where you need to go to those guys. And I think a lot of people are going to be looking at those guys because usually when they're on the slate, those are the guys that people go to. I don't know which one's going to get the most ownership today. I'm interested to waiting for ownership projections for a little bit, but like I think this is a day you can just go to balanced builds. I mean, there's just a great bunch of players that are like not that expensive. Like Devin Booker's 8,300. I love all the Portland guys. McCollum and Nurkic, you can go with balanced builds. The Andre Ayton, Bam Adebayo, Chris Middleton, even Paul George. Like these are, I mean, even Kawhi Leonard's really not that expensive. Porzingis. Like these are the kind of guys you can play. You don't have to go to like the Lukas, the Bams, the Lukas, the Giannis's, the LeBrons and ADs, and even Lillard now. Like you don't have to get those guys. Even Nikola Jokic. Like these aren't guys you have to go to today. I'm interested to see if that's what, and if we get a ton of value to open up like before the slate starts, like Indiana guys like being out, that's going to be something that's going to be, I mean, that's what everyone's going to do. They're just going to flock to that kind of build because they can get them in there. And then it might be contrarian just to go to the balanced builds. It might still be contrarian because usually you get at least one or two of these big guys who gets a ton of ownership no matter what. So I think it's going to be an interesting slate today where I can see a lot of the studs failing, especially guys like Giannis who just probably doesn't care as much anymore right now. LeBron and AD who just probably don't care as much. Lillard's probably too expensive for what kind of player he is. So, I mean, and Luka faces a really tough matchup, and then Jokic does as well. So, I just don't know if these guys are like, that's the way to go today. I'd like the balanced build as of right now just because of the lack of value on the slate. And even if the value does open up, I'm not so sure how great that value is. Like, Jakar Sampson, like, or Goga Batadze, like, we've seen Miles Turner and Sabonis be out before this year. And the minutes aren't, like, locked, like, 30 minutes for those guys. Like, they've switched it around with Leaf, Batadze, and Jakar Sampson. Like, I don't think that's, like, perfect value if they come out. The Miami Heat, if Dragic gets ruled out, I mean, there's some cheap guys over there that you could get to. Like, Iguodala is probably good at that point. But, and then, like, Campaign, like, I don't think that's great value or anything. Like, there's just not a ton of, like, awesome value today. And I like the balanced build more. But, I don't know. That's just my opinion on today. I mean, watch, the winner's going to have, like, Jakar Sampson, Justin Holiday, and Luka and Giannis in their lineup today. But, whatever. We'll see what happens. I hope you guys really enjoyed this video. Make sure to leave a like, subscribe, leave a comment telling me how you like the video. Make sure to keep up. If you want to subscribe to my Patreon, I'll put the link below. Follow me on social media. I'll put the links below as well. Thank you guys for watching. Hope you guys make some money today.